The grand mansion loomed under the twilight sky, its towering presence casting long shadows over the sprawling estate. Inside, billionaire Richard Winters lay in his luxurious canopy bed, his once powerful frame now frail and weak. He was a man who had conquered the business world, amassed immense wealth, and commanded respect wherever he went. But now, as the final chapters of his life approached, none of that mattered. What he craved most was not money or power, it was connection. Lucia, his maid of 5 years, entered the room carrying a silver tray adorned with medicine and a steaming cup of herbal tea. She had always been diligent, respectful, and compassionate. To Mr. Winters, she was more than a servant, she was the only person who had ever treated him with genuine kindness, not because of his wealth, but because of who he was beneath it all. Lucia, Richard's voice was barely more than a whisper. Come closer. She hesitated for a brief moment before stepping forward, setting the tray down on the nightstand. Sir, please, you need to take your medicine. Richard reached for her hand, his grip weak yet pleading. No medicine can save me now. But there is one last wish I have. Lucia's brow furrowed. Sir. His eyes, once sharp and calculating, now held only longing. I want you to spend the night with me. Lucia's heart skipped a beat. She pulled her hand away slowly, her mind racing. Sir, I don't understand. I have lived my life surrounded by wealth, by people who only wanted what I could give them. But I have never known true warmth, true closeness. Tonight, before I leave this world, I want to feel what it's like to be with someone who sees me as a man, not a billionaire. Silence filled the room, thick with tension. Lucia looked down, conflicted. She had always respected Mr. Winters, but this request, this was something else entirely. Sir, she finally spoke, love cannot be bought. Richard let out a weary chuckle. I'm not trying to buy it, Lucia. I just want to feel it, one last time. Tears welled in his eyes. For the first time, she saw not a ruthless businessman, but a lonely, broken man desperate for one moment of genuine affection. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding. If you truly want warmth, let me stay by your side, not as a lover, but as someone who cares. Richard looked at her, startled by her words. She reached for his hand again, this time holding it firmly. His lips trembled as a single tear slid down his cheek. You don't need to buy love, she whispered. It's already here. A weak smile crossed his face as he closed his eyes, his grip on her hand tightening for a brief moment before relaxing. He exhaled softly, the lines on his face smoothing as peace washed over him. Lucia remained by his side, holding his hand through the night. As the first light of dawn seeped through the curtains, she realized he was gone. But in his final moments, he had not been alone. He had found something more valuable than money, he had found true human connection. As the news of Richard Winters' passing spread, the world mourned the loss of a business icon. But Lucia knew the truth. She knew that beneath the tough exterior, Richard Winters had been a complex and vulnerable man, desperate for connection and love. In the days that followed, Lucia struggled to come to terms with what had happened. She had never expected to form such a deep bond with her employer, and yet, in his final moments, she had found a sense of purpose and meaning. As she reflected on their time together, Lucia realized that Richard Winters had taught her a valuable lesson. He had shown her that true wealth was not measured in dollars and cents, but in the connections we make with others. And as she looked back on their final night together, Lucia knew that she had given Richard Winters the greatest gift of all, the gift of human connection. Sometimes, the greatest gift one can give is not wealth or power, but the warmth of a kind heart. Years later, Lucia would look back on her time with Richard Winters as a turning point in her life. It was a reminder that true wealth and happiness came not from material possessions, but from the connections we make with others. And as she went on to build a life of her own, Lucia carried the lessons of Richard Winters with her, spreading kindness and compassion wherever she went. The story of Richard Winters and Lucia serves as a reminder that true connection and love can cross even the most unlikely of boundaries. And that sometimes, the greatest gifts we can give are the simplest acts of kindness and compassion. As the years passed, Lucia continued to work as a maid, but she never forgot the lessons she had learned from Richard Winters. She carried his memory with her, and it inspired her to treat everyone she met with kindness and respect. One day, Lucia received a surprise visit from Richard's lawyer. He informed her that Richard had left her a substantial inheritance in his will. Lucia was shocked and overwhelmed by the news. But as she looked back on her time with Richard, she realized that the true inheritance he had left her was not the money, but the lessons he had taught her about the importance of human connection. Lucia decided to use the money to start a charity in Richard's name, dedicated to providing support and companionship to the elderly and lonely. She spent the rest of her life spreading kindness and compassion, and she never forgot the men who had inspired her to do so. Richard Winters may have started his life as a ruthless businessman, but in the end, he had found redemption through his connection with Lucia. And through her, his legacy lived on, inspiring countless others to spread kindness and compassion. The story of Richard Winters and Lucia serves as a reminder that it's never too late to change and make amends. That even the most unlikely of people can find redemption and make a positive impact on the world. And that sometimes, all it takes is one person to show us the value of kindness and compassion to change our lives forever. The end. I hope you enjoyed this expanded story. Let me know if you have any other requests or questions. Subscribe to our channel for more stories.